Welcome, math geniuses, to the next installment of subtracting mixed numbers with unlike denominators and borrowing. So much fun. Yesterday, you learned how to borrow with mixed numbers. You took one from the whole number and you added to the fraction, and then you subtracted the mixed numbers. Amazing! Give yourself a pat on the back. I thought you did an amazing job. I'll play a song for you. Let's review what we did yesterday. Remember what we did? We took 3 3/8 and we changed the 1 to 8/8, and then we added the 8/8 to the 3/8, and we got 2 11/8, and it looked like this. Now we can subtract these problems because we changed them. So 2 11/8 minus 2 5/8 becomes 6/8, and then we reduced it to 3/4. So today we're going to take everything that we have learned, subtracting fractions, finding common denominators, borrowing, and reducing. And we're going to subtract mixed numbers that do not have the same denominator. We will have to borrow and reduce. Are you ready? Start your engines. You should take notes today. There is an order to this that you will need to know. When you start to subtract two mixed numbers, please follow this order. First, find the common denominators. This is important because at that point you can see if you will have to borrow. Do not borrow before you find the common denominators. So with this problem, 5 3/10 minus 2 4/5, we changed 2 4/5 to 2 8/10 by multiplying the top and the bottom by 2. And if you notice, we have to borrow. So step number 2 is you have to borrow. Here you can't take the 8 from the 3, so again, you'll have to borrow. So after we're done borrowing, we just do the top fraction. We take 1 from the 5 and we make it 4, and then we add 10 to the 3 and make it 13. So now we have 4 13/10 minus 2 8/10. Third, we subtract the fractions and the whole numbers, so it becomes 2 5/10. But this is not in simplest form. So finally, we will reduce your answer. You have to always simplify your answers, and your answer becomes 2 1/2. Let's try another one. So you have 8 1/8 minus 2 2/3. Number 1, find the common denominators. So we're going to multiply the top by 3/3 and the bottom by 8/8. Then we have our new problem. 8 3/24 minus 2 16/24. But we can't take 16 from 3, so we have to borrow. We take 1 from the 8 and make it 7. And then we add 24 to 3 and make it 27. So now we're going to subtract. 27 minus 16 becomes 11/24. And 7 minus 2 becomes 5. Normally you would reduce, but you don't have to reduce this one. Yes. And that's the answer to the problem. So this is the first example that I am going to do with you. I want to subtract 1 5/12 from 3 1/3. And I can't right now because they don't have common denominators. But I can change 3 into 12 by multiplying the 4 on the top and the 4 on the bottom. So I'm going to get a new answer of 3 and 4/12. And I'm going to subtract 1 5/12 from that. Well, now I have another problem because I cannot subtract 5 from 4. So I'm going to borrow. And I'm going to borrow from the 3, and I'm going to make it a 2. And then I'm going to add 12/12 because I took the 1 and I'm making it into a fraction equivalent to 1. 6 plus 12, 4 plus 12 is 16 over 12. And then I'm just going to move this fraction over again. And when I'm done subtracting this, 16 minus 5 is 11. And my denominator is 12. And 2 minus 1 is 1. And that is the answer to the first example. Show that whole thing to you so you can see the process. I first changed the denominators, then I had to borrow, and then I was able to subtract. So the second example is subtracting 2 1/4 from 5 1/5. And the first step is always to make sure that I have common denominators. So I know that both 4 and 5 make 20. So that's going to be my new denominator. I'm just going to put my whole numbers there. And I know that I have to multiply this times 5 and this times 5. 4 times 5 is 20, so 1 times 5 is 5. And then 5 times 4 is 20, and 1 times 4 is 4. And so now I want to subtract this problem. This is my new problem. I'll just cover this up to get this out of the way. So the next step will be that I cannot subtract 5 from 4, so I'm going to have to borrow. So I'm going to make this a 4, and then I'm going to add 20 to both 20 on the top, 20 on the bottom. Obviously, you don't add 20s together, so my denominator is going to stay 20. But 4 plus 20 is 24. And then I just move this over. So now this is my new problem. 4 and 24/20 minus 2 and 5/20. So 24 minus 5 is 19. And my denominator stays 20. And 4 minus 2 is 2. And that's the end of the second example. Okay, the secret word is Netherlands for 2 reasons. First of all, that is where Corrie ten Boom and our story takes place that we're learning about. And second, I'm Dutch like Corrie ten Boom.